Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Intimacy Lab. Have you ever had that quiet whisper in your gut? That uneasy feeling that something just isn't right in your relationship, but you can't quite put your finger on it? She's smiling, she's saying all the right things, she kisses you good night, but somehow it feels like there's a shadow in the room that you can't see, only sense. Cheating isn't always loud. It doesn't always come with lipstick on the collar or strange numbers in the phone. Sometimes it's quiet, sophisticated, carefully choreographed like a performance played by someone who knows you, who knows what to say and exactly what to hide. Today, we're stepping into a space that most people don't dare to talk about. Not because they don't want to, but because it's uncomfortable to face the possibility that love, or what we thought was love, might be wearing a mask. In this video, we're going to uncover 7 things cheating wives do to stay undetected, not to villainize women, but to understand the psychological and emotional patterns that make betrayal possible and sometimes almost invisible, because the real danger isn't just what she's doing behind your back. The real danger is not seeing it even when it's right in front of you. Let's begin with something honest. Infidelity doesn't always look like what we think. It's not always screaming matches and slammed doors. It's not always about sex or desire or even the other person. Sometimes it's about disconnection. Avoid a silence so loud that one day she reaches for someone who listens, or at least pretends to. So, what does a cheating wife actually do to remain undetected? She blends in. She becomes invisible in all the right places and visible in all the wrong ones. She keeps everything measured, just enough affection to keep your suspicions at bay, just enough routine to seem loyal, and just enough excuses to explain why her energy isn't fully with you. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked at your wife and thought, she's here, but she's not here? Her body is close, but her presence feels borrowed. Her words are soft, but her eyes seem distant. It's subtle. And that's exactly what makes it so powerful. This is not about guilt. This is about survival. It's a choreography of concealment. Let's start with the first thing she does. She changes her emotional rhythm. It's not necessarily coldness. No, it's more elusive than that. One day she's affectionate, the next day she's distracted. She's still smiling, still texting back, still showing up to dinner, but you feel it. The emotional temperature has dropped a degree. And then another, until one day you realize you're having full conversations about your day, your work, your stress. And she's nodding, but her eyes aren't meeting yours. Women, especially those who cheat emotionally first, are masters at self-containment. They don't storm out, they fade. They retreat emotionally while still playing the role physically. She knows what you want to hear. She knows what you expect, so she gives just enough, but there's no longer warmth behind the "I love you," just routine. And here's the part many men miss. When you question her emotional distance, she doesn't deny it. She redirects. "I'm just tired," she says. "Work has been overwhelming. I'm just not in the mood lately," and those answers sound reasonable. That's how emotional withdrawal becomes the perfect hiding place. The second thing she does, she becomes more organized with her time. Now that might sound like a good thing. She's punctual, her schedule is tight, she plans everything in advance. But here's where it becomes suspicious. There's no more spontaneity. The emotional availability she once gave freely is now scheduled and often. Unavailable, you notice that gym classes suddenly take longer. She's picking up new hobbies, more girls' nights than usual. She's busy, but can't quite explain with what. Not in a shady way, in a way that sounds oddly, well, practiced. It's not that she's never around, it's that her time feels filtered, managed, rehearsed. Why? Because she's controlling the narrative of her day. Not necessarily to cover up sex, but to protect a second life, a space where she feels alive again, where she's not a wife or a mother or a housekeeper, just a woman being desired, being heard, being seen. And when you try to enter that space, she locks the door with politeness. You don't need to worry about that. It's just something I'm doing for me. And while you may want to support her independence, something about her tone says this door isn't for you. That's how infidelity often begins, not with a body but with a boundary. Now let's talk about the third behavior. And this one might surprise you. She starts being nicer, yes. Sometimes a cheating wife becomes more attentive, more affectionate, more complimentary. She starts complimenting your shirts again. She makes your favorite meal. She's even initiating sex, but it feels different, mechanical, almost like a performance, and it confuses you. Because it doesn't match the emotional distance you were feeling just a few weeks ago. Here's why guilt can be a powerful motivator. Some women overcompensate when they're cheating, especially in the beginning. They feel the weight of what they're doing, so they try to make it right in subtle ways. They try to silence their own conscience by being more generous to you, not out of manipulation, out of self-preservation. This kindness isn't fake, it's fractured. She might still love you, she might still value your partnership. But she's split. Part of her is still with you, and part of her is somewhere else, emotionally or physically, craving something you don't even know she's missing. And here's where it gets deeper. The more you appreciate her kindness, the more trapped she feels in the lie. Because now she's not just hiding an affair, she's betraying your gratitude, your trust, your hope. So she becomes even more careful, even more polished. She doesn't want to get caught, not because she fears you, but because she fears herself. What she's capable of, what she's willing to risk, what she's already become, you see. Infidelity isn't always born from a bad marriage. Sometimes it's born from an identity crisis, a need for validation that no one saw coming, not even her. And that's why these behaviors are so subtle, so calculated, so quietly rehearsed, because the most dangerous betrayal isn't the one that screams, it's the one that whispers. You might assume that infidelity would make someone sloppy, that guilt would leave behind clues. But in reality, many women who cheat become more controlled, more careful, especially when they don't want to destroy the home they've built, so instead of pulling away entirely, they refine the performance. Another behavior that often goes unnoticed is the sudden, subtle interest in personal image, but not for you. Now let me be clear, taking care of oneself is not a sign of betrayal. In fact, I encourage women to do it for their own joy, their own confidence. But when that care comes out of nowhere, when new perfumes arrive, when gym memberships appear, when she starts putting makeup on for errands, but wears sweatpants for you, it's not just the actions that speak, it's the intention behind them. She's trying to feel beautiful again, desired, chosen, but not necessarily by you. This new version of her, more radiant, more energized, isn't always for seduction. Sometimes it's about reinvention, and when a woman feels trapped in a role, the mother, the wife, the caretaker, she may begin to seek freedom in the mirror. Not because she doesn't love you, but because she no longer recognizes herself in your gaze. So she chases that reflection somewhere else. And here's where it gets painful. She may still ask you, do I look good in this? She may still wear the dress you love. But something has changed in her eyes. She's not dressing for your approval. She's dressing for her own sense of escape, for the fantasy of being someone else, someone new, someone untouched by duty. That change in self-presentation isn't always about vanity. It's about longing to feel again, to feel alive, to feel unpredictable, and sometimes to feel desired by someone who doesn't know the mom version. The busy wife version, the version that pays the bills and does the school runs. It's not always sexual, but it is emotional, and emotional affairs can be even harder to detect, and even more dangerous to the foundation of a marriage. Let's talk about another deeply overlooked behavior. She starts asking you fewer questions. At first, you may not notice. You're talking about work, your friend's birthday, the thing your boss said that annoyed you, and she's listening, sort of. She smiles, nods, responds, but the questions stop, the curiosity disappears, and that absence is louder than you think. Because in a healthy, connected relationship, we wonder about each other, we want to know. We want to be invited into each other's inner worlds, the daily joys, the frustrations, the silly details that don't matter to anyone else, but mean everything to the person living them. But when a woman is cheating, especially emotionally, her energy begins to split. She's already having deep conversations with someone else. She's already been listening, asking, responding, supporting. So with you she becomes passive, not distant, just disinterested. And that creates a false sense of peace. She's not nagging me anymore. She's letting me do what I want. She's not as reactive, but sometimes that silence is not peace. It's withdrawal. She's no longer fighting with you because she's no longer emotionally with you. And here's the cruel twist. She may still be cooking your dinner, washing your clothes, helping with the kids. She's showing up physically, but emotionally she's elsewhere, she's spent. She's already given her best stories, her best laughter, her best tenderness to someone who makes her feel emotionally important again. You see, cheating doesn't start with undressing, it starts with unmet needs. And when a woman begins to feel like her thoughts no longer matter to you, like her emotional depth is invisible, she begins to shrink. Until someone else offers her space to expand again. So when she stops asking you about your day, when she stops noticing your energy, when she's not curious anymore, pay attention. Not to accuse, but to reconnect, to ask yourself, when was the last time I made her feel interesting, wanted, alive? Because sometimes infidelity is a scream for oxygen in a room where she feels like she can't breathe. And the heartbreaking part, most women who cheat don't plan it. It starts as a conversation, a compliment, a shared glance, a laugh that feels too easy, a feeling of being seen again, and the rest unfolds in secrecy. Not just because she doesn't want you to know, but because she can't quite admit it to herself either. That's why she'll smile at you in the kitchen, kiss you good night, ask you if you need anything at the store. It's not just deception, it's disorientation. She's living two lives, and she's hoping you never ask her to choose. So if you feel that gap growing, if she's more polished, but less present, if she's more independent, but less intimate, don't ignore the silence. Listen to what it's trying to tell you. It's strange, isn't it? How someone can look you in the eye with kindness and still be hiding something that could tear your world apart. But this isn't a story of villains. It's a story of disconnection, of quiet longing, and of needs that go unnoticed until they find their way out in the dark. Let's talk about something that almost always hides in plain sight. She creates new boundaries around her digital life. Not overtly, she doesn't become defensive overnight. She doesn't slam her laptop shut every time you walk in. No, it's quieter than that. Her phone starts living face down on the table. She no longer hands it to you to play music in the car. She's suddenly deleting old apps or clearing space, and yet you notice certain conversations are missing. The chat history is unusually clean, too clean. You feel the shift, but you hesitate to say anything. You don't want to be controlling, you don't want to seem insecure, and that's exactly how emotional concealment thrives, not through bold secrets, but by hiding behind your trust. When a woman is cheating, even emotionally, her digital world becomes sacred ground. That's where the escape lives. The messages, the sweet nothings, the emoji that makes her feel 20 again, the validation that reminds her she's still wanted, still noticed, still exciting. So she guards it, not with passwords, with excuses. I just need more privacy. I've been trying to be more present, so I've deleted some stuff. and it all sounds so responsible. But the truth is, the phone has become the gateway to a part of her life you're no longer invited into. And yet, here's the painful paradox: she still wants your trust. She still wants to be seen as loyal, as faithful, as good. That duality is what eats away at her. The wife, the mother, the woman who said forever, now living in a hidden contradiction. She may not even be messaging every day. It's not always an affair in motion. Sometimes it's an emotional possibility she keeps alive in secret. A connection that exists in silence but offers a spark she no longer feels at home. And so the secrecy isn't always about the act, it's about the feeling that the act preserves. Another behavior that hides beneath the surface is emotional projection. Suddenly, she starts accusing you gently, maybe even jokingly, of pulling away. She might say things like, "You don't even notice me anymore," or "You're always on your phone," or "You've been distant lately," and on the surface it seems fair. Relationships do ebb and flow, but underneath, it's her own distance she's trying to deflect, the guilt she's trying to offload, the emotional confusion she doesn't know how to name. She projects it onto you, not to blame you, but because her own truth is too uncomfortable to hold alone. Projection is a strange form of confession. It's not about what you're doing, it's about what she is doing, but can't say out loud. And sometimes she wants you to notice, to ask, to confront her, not because she wants to be caught, but because she wants to be rescued from the mess she doesn't know how to clean up. This is the moment where many men feel most lost. She's accusing me of being distant, but I've been trying, I've been here, and it's true. But she's no longer seeing you clearly. She's seeing herself reflected in a mirror of discontent. So if you find yourself constantly trying to prove your love, to chase her attention, to fix a problem she won't name, it's possible she's already in an emotional affair with someone else, or with the fantasy of a life she's not sure she deserves. And finally, the seventh behavior, perhaps the hardest one to admit. She starts planning for a version of life without you. She might mention things like getting her own bank account, going on a solo trip, taking a course that could lead to a new job in another city. None of these things are inherently suspicious. But the tone changes. It's no longer, "We should do this." It's, "I'm thinking about doing this." The future she's imagining no longer includes us, it includes her. This is what I call emotional detachment with a smile. She's not angry, she's not bitter. In fact, she may be kinder, more peaceful, more generous than she's been in a while. But that's because she's letting go inside, quietly, gently, and preparing herself mentally, emotionally to no longer need you. That doesn't mean she's leaving tomorrow or even next month, but she's slowly untangling her identity from yours. Testing what it feels like to be separate, not divorced on paper, but divorced in spirit. And when a woman reaches this point, she may still be in bed next to you. She may still wear her wedding ring, but her heart, her mind, her sense of self, it's already walking out the door. This is the part that hurts most, because you didn't cheat, you didn't change, you were trying, but she was gone long before you knew it. So, what do you do when you realize you're loving someone who's slowly learning how to live without you? Do you confront her? Do you accuse? Do you walk away? Or do you look deeper into the uncomfortable silence between you, into the places where love once lived, but now feels like a stranger's shadow? Because here's the truth: most people don't cheat because they stop loving. They cheat because they stop feeling seen. And when you are not seen, you begin to seek mirrors in the faces of others, someone who looks at you and says, "You are still beautiful, you are still wanted, you are still worth noticing." Cheating is not always a rejection of you. Sometimes it's a desperate attempt to reclaim a part of herself that got lost in the routines, the bills, the bedtime schedules, the silence. But let me be clear, that does not justify the betrayal. That does not erase the impact of broken trust. That does not excuse the secret conversations, the lies by omission, the stolen intimacy she gave to someone else while you slept next to her. What it does do, however, is help us understand, because understanding is not about letting someone off the hook. It's about not letting yourself go crazy in the aftermath. It's about reclaiming your sense of sanity, your dignity, your peace. If you're watching this and something inside you is aching, if you recognize the distance, the schedule shifts, the emotional withdrawal, the way her phone became a private world, you're not imagining it, you're not paranoid, your intuition is speaking, and the worst thing you can do is silence it. But here's what I want you to know. You are not powerless. You can confront with calm. You can ask without attacking. You can hold your ground without begging for love. The key is to move from suspicion to clarity, and from clarity to courage. Ask yourself, am I being loved in the way I deserve? Am I being chosen not just once on the wedding day, but daily? Am I building a life with someone who still wants to build with me? And if the answer is no, then you get to decide what happens next. You don't need to scream. You don't need to spy. You don't need to become someone you're not to compete with a version of her you can't reach. You need to stand in truth, in presence, in maturity. You need to ask the question most people avoid in fear: are we still connected? Are we still committed, not just in status, but in spirit? If she's cheating emotionally, physically, or even energetically, it will come to light. Because the truth always rises when we stop performing and start asking for honesty. And if she's not cheating, but just struggling with herself, then maybe this conversation is the invitation she's been too afraid to speak. Either way, it's time to stop tiptoeing around discomfort. You are not here to be in a half, love. You are not here to be tolerated while someone dreams of escape. You are not here to beg for intimacy. You are here to be loved in full. So what will you do with what you know now? Will you keep pretending not to notice the quiet goodbye that's already begun? Or will you step forward with open eyes, an open heart, and a voice that says, I see the distance, and I'm no longer afraid to name it. This video was never about blame. It was about awareness, because awareness is the first step back to connection, and connection is the only antidote to betrayal. If this message stirred something in you, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. You never know who you might help or who might say, I feel that too. And if you found this valuable, please like this video and subscribe to the Intimacy Lab. This is a space for honest, grown-up conversations about love, desire, pain, and healing. Because healing isn't about going back. It's about learning how to go forward, even when the love you built isn't what it used to be. Here's to you, to your truth, your strength, and the love that starts first with yourself. Until next time.